Greetings, world, and welcome back to another episode of the NeuroWellness Project, a podcast devoted to exploring compassionate and evidence informed approaches to autism. When a child receives an autism diagnosis, parents can sometimes respond in remarkable ways. Some of us write books, produce documentaries, or start a podcast. Others found nonprofits, create new therapies, or step into the world of science and medicine. And some, like today's guest, harness the power of holistic modalities to support not only their own child, but other families as well. Today, I am honored to be joined by Winnie Odhiambo, a board certified integrative health practitioner dedicated to root cause healing for developmental delays, behavioral challenges, autism, and sensory issues. Winnie's journey began with her own child's autism diagnosis, which set her on a path of discovery through functional medicine, gut brain healing, and reflex integration. Now, as the founder of Thrive Beyond the Spectrum, Winnie helps other families to address the underlying imbalances while also empowering mothers with the tools, confidence, and hope to guide their child's unique journey. Approach is both practical and deeply compassionate, centered on the belief that when mothers are supported, children thrive. Winnie, thank you so much for taking the time to chat with us today.
You are most welcome. Thank you so much for having me.
So let's dive right in. Your connection to autism is something that is deeply personal and purpose driven. Could you maybe share with us a little bit about your son's journey and what set you on the path toward the integrative and functional approaches?
Absolutely. So when my son was before he turned 2 years old, he started regressing, right? He lost his words. And what was most even scary for me was when I couldn't get to his world. He was in his own world. Before he was responding to his name, but at that point he stopped responding to his name, and I knew that something was wrong. And so I did what most parents do. I went to the pediatrician, and they also got early intervention to our house to just get him tested. And what we were told is things may get better, but they also gave us a referral to speech therapy. There was a waiting list, and we just had to wait. And when the available, we took him in. But speech therapy was good, but the progress was painful. It was painfully slow. And in my heart, I just knew that there must be something going on with him, because when he was born, he was fine. But things have regressed. Yet when I asked for the why, I was just met with, this typically happens at this time around 18 months to 2 years. Kids who are meant to have this, maybe if it's genetic, will start showing signs at this age. But
Mm-hmm.
the mother, I just felt like, no, there has to be something more. And so I went searching. But during that time, I was also going through my own health challenges.
Wow.
I was a major in the United States Air Force. I just retired from the Air Force. So um, I was working as a healthcare administrator in the Air Force, and I got really exhausted. I was going through something that seemed like a burnout because I had extreme fatigue and digestive issues. And whenever I would go to the doctors, who I deeply respect, who are mostly my peers, rank-wise in the Air Force, because I work in the hospital, they would run the labs, and my values were within range, my blood work. And so there was no diagnosis they could give me, but they could give me medications for the symptoms I was having to make things bearable. But the inquisitive nature that I have, I'm very curious. I started doing research. And one time I stumbled across a podcast by Dr. Stephen Cabral. It was like he was speaking to me. And when I kept on listening to his podcast, I learned a lot of functional medicine. And so I inquired about it. And got my functional medicine at home labs ran, they were able to identify the root causes that I had. My minerals ratios were a bit off, showing a lot of stress in the body. And from there, I saw that I had biological imbalances. And when we started working with the health practitioner to rebalance things, I started feeling better. And so around that time, my son's situation was getting worse. And just like
Mm.
something just dropped in my mind. What if my son was going through the same thing? And so I decided, okay, I will go and study it myself so that I be not only his mother, but a part of the healing team that is supporting him through the journey.
That is beautiful. And I have to say, I have kind of like a similar story as well. So I'm so pleased to be able to connect with you finally in person like this. Could you share with us, did you have like a turning point where you just said, I need to look beyond these conventional approaches? Was there like a single event that happened that kind of like flipped that switch for you?
Yes, I remember when when our son went to kindergarten, and the teachers told us, he is having issues with sensory processing because sometimes he would just wander around in class, and sometimes he would go and start touching people's clothes, especially when their clothes had different textures. And
Yes.
the teachers were just like, no, I don't think he can survive in mainstream school. I think you need to think about taking him to a special school. And I was just like, let me tell you, I felt like my world was falling. My world was breaking into pieces.
Wow.
And you know what? I will find something that will make his life better. I just went full swing to alternative ways to just help him live his best life.
Wow. Thank you. Which modalities or practices have you and your family explored for him that you think have made like the biggest difference in his life?
Well, being his mother has been the best journey ever. Like, because I learned about so many modalities, and I went all in most of them. Of course, I would start functional medicine because functional medicine, we're able to get at home functioning lab tests done, and we're able to uncover a lot of imbalances that he was having.
Yes.
And starting from gut dysbiosis, right? Having and parasites in the system and candida bacteria overgrowth. So we're able to identify that. And then we were able to see the toxic load was pretty high, heavy metals. We were able to see them, the high aluminum, cadmium, and arsenic. They were high. And so his body needed support. And so functional medicine really uncovered even nutritional deficiencies that he had. And that takes me to my next modality, right? Therapeutic. So, a big thing that I did was I did a big overhaul of how we ate in our home, right? From breakfast to dinner, before they would go to school and have breakfast at school, that ended, right? I said, I gave them like very high antioxidant breakfasts that are rich in protein, and I would make lunches for them and have them packed for school with lots of fruits and vegetables. We reduced sugar and we reduced gluten. Once in a while during birthday parties, I would allow them to indulge, but most of the time they get their sugar from fruits that are very high in antioxidants, like strawberries and blueberries and stuff like that. Fish oil, making sure we give them good fats, the omega 3s. So nutrition wise, we made a big overhaul, and also based on the results that I got from his functional medicine labs, any deficiencies that we noted, we were able to provide supplementation, and of course, we used third party verified supplements for him and made sure we titrated them for his age and his weight. The other next, yeah, then the next thing that we did was primitive reflex integration, right? And I worked with a practitioner on that, and were able to identify that almost all of his primitive reflexes were not integrated. And so we worked on like very daily intentional movements that were incorporated primitive reflex integration exercises. And that also like really helped him. Because at one point when we took him to the hospital, oh my goodness, he had very high blood pressure. As a young kid, broke my heart. I was there with my mom during that appointment, and my mom was worried. My mom is a retired nurse, and she was like, how can a little kid have such high blood pressure? But it makes sense. His body
Yeah.
was inflamed. He had so many toxic in the system, and he had deficiencies as well. So his body was out of balance. So when we working on primitive reflexes, we saw that his nervous system really started regulating.
Wow.
And also like with the other two modalities I talked about, we saw like his blood pressure reduced and he started being calm, less meltdowns. And one day when we were walking down the street, I remember a car was passing by. I wasn't far from him, and I just called him, and he turned back and looked at me, and that was a magical moment for me. He answered to his name, and after that, I was able to have that eye contact with him, and we're able to connect there. And I say, okay, things are getting better. It is. We are balancing some things out that were out of balance. The thing that we also worked on was, you know, myself as the mother. I worked on my own nervous system regulation because kids truly mirror our nervous system. Because I have a very calm outer demeanor, but internally, constantly, constantly in fight or flight. I was. Um, I never knew what the teachers were going to say, and work was quite intense. Being in the military and just being a woman, and in this, in the U.S., you know how it is. There's a lot. And so I had to really take time to slow down and regulate my nervous system as well. So then the other one is photobiomodulation. So we were able to use the lasers, infrared, red, and green lasers. Those are amazing because you can put them in certain areas of the brain, and they're able to help activate those areas and reduce inflammation, and also regulate and even enhance mitochondrial health of the brain and the different parts of the body. When I tell you I did everything I could.
And I think that such a big, like, missing piece of the puzzle, if you will, in supporting our children is like you hit the nail on the head. I think it's in regulating ourselves and working on ourselves. And photobiomodulation, actually, my son just finished his second round of TMS. And the practitioner did photobiomodulation in addition to the TMS every day. And what a difference it made in his just kind of like how alert he was. He sometimes had trouble like seeing things, especially like small or like quickly moving things. But after that last round with that photobiomodulation, it's like he can finally like see ants for the first time, and like bees and stuff like that. Like, so cool. In terms of your own practice, Thrive Beyond the Spectrum, could you tell us a little bit about what the pillars of that are and what the process looks like when a family comes to you for support?
Absolutely. So the first pillar is functional medicine. Data is important, right? So I really root my practice on data and science first. And so I look at, think about kids and even our bodies as a bucket, right? Or the total load. How much is going on in that child's life that could tip them over and cause massive dysregulation? And so functional medicine really helps us uncover that. And it's plain black and white. So the first thing that we do is really run those functional medicine labs, right? So once we uncover what's going on in the body, then I come up with a personalized plan for this child that involves boosting their nutritional deficiencies and also gently detoxifying those those items, those things that we saw that were causing an imbalance in the child's life. So that's where we start. Is really biology, and then the next pillar is nervous system regulation. Right. This is huge because I will work with the parent, especially most of the time the people that I work with are mothers. They're the primary caregivers, and I tell them that nervous system work is not just for their child but for them as well. So we work on how can we bring a rhythm in the family that is conducive to everybody, that brings a state of calm from the time they wake up to the time they go to bed. How can we make things work for you so that you're not in fight or flight, right?
Right. Yes.
Also on your mindset so that, when things are not going as planned, then you're able to breathe through them, right? And regulate your and be the anchor for your child. Because up until a kid is about 10 or even older, they're mirroring your nervous system closely. Healing you is healing them. That's what I always say. And we cannot not work on that. So the nervous system work is for both mother and child. And every time we meet, we do some breathing and we do the meditation before we work on whatever we are working on during our session. So that's the second pillar. The third one is primitive reflexes. That's huge. We want to make sure that we incorporate those daily intentional movements that would have the integration of those primitive reflexes because they make such a huge, 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 huge difference when they're integrated. And then the fourth one is really the mother's identity, right? To me, I look at mothers as the healers of the family. So
Hmm.
the mothers regain their intuition and confidence in their intuition, confidence in their leadership. And how do they do that? By providing them the knowledge that they need, answering all the questions they have, giving them the tools that they need, right? Knowing that they're not there on their own, that they can always ask somebody else who has walked that journey. Because when they're confident in what they're doing, they're able to really turn things around. And then they're able to help the entire family. Because if you're able to help a child rebalance who's presenting with autism symptoms, you can literally help any child in your home and you can literally help your family, really live a healthy life overall. Those are the four pillars: functional medicine, primitive reflex, nervous system, and the mother's identity as also a healer, a big part of that healing process.
Thank you so much. So you view autism not as like a fixed condition, right? But more as like a call to understand something deeper going on, something in their biology. Could you describe for us maybe like what that perspective shift looks like and what it means for families?
Absolutely. So for me, I look at autism as a language. It's communication. Every symptom is communication to us as the parents and also to the practitioner that hey, something is amiss here, right? Meltdown is communication. So for me, not autism is not the end of the road, is where we begin asking the question. We begin asking the question, what is this behavior communicating? Instead of trying to really eradicate behavior, we're asking what it's communicating, you know, and we're asking what's going on in the body. And when you look at it from that perspective, then, you're able to really support the child in front of you because you're not looking at a static illness or condition. It's something that once we unravel and start reducing the load from that bucket that I talked about, the proverbial bucket, once you start taking out the toxins, I've seen children doing so well,
Yeah.
so well. And I talk about my own child. He's in a mainstream school, he's in third grade right now. And,
Oh,
and he's doing very well in school. And he's one of the top students in his class, right?
wow.
We came from a place where he couldn't answer to his name and he was lost in his own world. to a place where yesterday he went to soccer. He's playing soccer in the league here. He's able to coordinate to the extent of playing soccer. He's able to sit in class all day and be with neurotypical children and function and get good grades. So I say that, it's possible. Healing is possible. It's a journey, and it's a journey worth taking. It's a journey worth starting. But when you look at it as a mother, I tell the mothers that come to me that I work with that your child will not get better than your vision. Then
Wow.
you determine how far we're going to go.
I love that. So for parents who are watching or listening to this and they are just starting to begin exploring these alternative methods to managing their child's diagnoses, what are some like simple first steps that they can start taking at home?
Absolutely. That's really a good question. First thing is take a deep breath, breathe in, breathe out.
Mm.
You know, I remember when during that time when my son was at the thick of things, I remember it was challenging. I had to take a deep breath in, and take care of yourself.
Yes.
I always tell people start with diet. That is one of the places where you can make such huge changes and see such amazing results. Remove the food that are inflammatory. Most children who are neurodivergent cannot process the proteins found in gluten and in dairy. Without even doing a functional lab test, take those out for 2 to 3 weeks and see how your child is doing.
Yes, absolutely.
There. Number two, switch to clean products in the home because neurodivergent children are very, very sensitive to the environment. So what other kids or other adults can able to like process and detoxify, they might not be able to do so. So I'll use clean product, right? Number three, make sure your home is calm and ensure that you have rhythm that supports them, predictability, right? Connection before correction when you're dealing with children. Viewing behavior as communication, not as bad behavior, right? And but I would say food, clean products, come home, your mindset, gentle parenting. And then if you're able to get a functional medicine expert who can at least run those labs for you and start working on detoxification process.
Yes, absolutely. You've mentioned that healing isn't a linear thing and that every child's journey is completely unique. Totally agree with you. How do you guide parents through the reality that every child's journey is different and every healing journey looks different without causing them to like lose hope in it?
Absolutely. So I'm very like straightforward and upfront with parents. I let them know that absolutely healing is not doesn't happen in a straight line. It's linear at all. Healing is so personal and it can be a spiral. One day you could have progress, another day you could have regression a little bit, another day you could have just a stable season where things are not shifting. But I tell them that you need to really be keen on the wins.
Yes. Ooh.
Every time I meet with them, I ask them, tell me the wins you've seen. What have you seen? And so the parents that I work with are very, very um, keen on all of the progress the kids are making. Even if it's tiny, I tell them, bring it to our session and let us celebrate it. So celebrate all the wins that really keep right? And then I also and tell them in advance that sometimes you'll have regression, but that is communication. So when that happens, let's find out what took place, what activities were they involved in, what foods did they eat, how did they sleep. That is information, that is data, right? Then I tell them that kids have different root causes for their condition, right? So some causes require longer periods of protocols, some less, and that's okay, right? The most important thing is to be in the journey and to walk the journey. Because the parents that I work with keep a journal, they're able to see, we're always able to start with how far we've come. So we are able to see that we've made progress and so we can keep going, right? And so that's the main thing, really keeping that in the forefront. Where have we started? Because let me tell you, once you start taking out the the proverbial toxins from the front bucket, the kids on, they get better. You might just not see it as a linear event, but they do get better. If you're able to track the wins, the kids the parents stay motivated and they're able to keep going.
Yes, absolutely agree. Because I mean, your diet, it isn't, I'm a clinical herbalist and I say all the time, like your diet isn't just what you eat, right? This is what I love about your approach. It's what you're thinking, it's what you're saying, it's what you're watching, it's what you're listening to. It's so your cells are always listening. And especially like you were saying, when a mother and a child are so closely linked, like through their nervous systems, through those first early years of life, it's so important to like celebrate those small wins because their cells are listening, right? To every word, and not even the words, to your movements, to your breath, like to how tense you are. And something that kind of saddens me is that there's so many parents who like receive this diagnosis and are just told, like stop hoping for change. There's nothing that we can do. Looking back on your own journey, what do you wish that you had maybe known earlier?
Right. What I wish I knew earlier is, wow, that time is your friend. The younger your child is, the better the outcomes can be for them. And and so instead of being in a situation where you're denying it, denying the issue in front of you, not listening to your intuition that's telling you something's amiss here, let's take action. Instead of dilly-dallying in that, just go in and start the journey. I say early intervention, not only the traditional ones like OT, speech therapy, I think they have their place, but I'm talking about this holistic way of really helping your children. When you start it early, it really pays dividends because the brain and the whole development of the gray matter ends at the age of 10. So you have all time to really get all the toxins out of the system, rebalance your child's body, give the brain and the body what it needs to be nourished and to thrive, right? Do the primitive reflexes and help the nervous system get rewired and mature and the higher brain to start functioning and get activated, right? Help their mitochondria, help them be well as soon as you can. Because when you do it earlier, you have a really high chance of really amazing outcomes. So I would say that time is your friend. And the other thing is be curious, be your child's advocate, be the leader. Right now, we have the beautiful blessing of the internet. You can virtually learn everything that you need to learn. Go out and find what you need. And one thing also is sometimes when, parents maybe come to practitioners, they debate about, oh, the price. It should just be free ABA because it is covered by insurance. And I understand that sometimes finances could be an issue. I remember we ended up being a loan to help my child at our point. Use cards and
Yeah.
stuff. I am
Yeah.
so thankful. I'm so grateful that I did that because of where we are today. And I'm not saying that you that, but I'm just saying that go all in, follow your intuition, be courageous, and advocate for your child. Healing is possible. Healing is
Yeah.
possible.
It is. It is. Absolutely. There's no manual for like how to raise a kid. There's also no manual for how to be an advocate for your child. And yeah, that's a lesson that I definitely had to learn with my autistic son, my older son. And Winnie, if there was one shift in the narrative about autism or neurodevelopmental health that you could change, what would it be and why?
I would say that all neurological issues are communication. It's co- it's communication. The body is overwhelmed. Something is amiss, and we need to really approach it from a place of curiosity. Yes. Oh, and then that's what I want to say. And for parents, seriously love your children. And I tell parents this all the time. Love also heals. Is a part of that healing thing as well. So I tell them, love your children no matter what, but really take the situation as a communication, and just know that nothing happens out of everything that happens has a reason. Deserve it, and just allow yourself to go through the journey, because what I would say is raising a neurodivergent child opened my heart to love, to curiosity, my intuition heightened. It made my life.
Wow, that's so beautiful.
It really depends on how you view it, the perspective you look at it from. So look at it from an empowered perspective, you know, and just celebrate the wins, love your child, advocate for them, follow your intuition, and know that neurodivergence is communication. It's communication. We can do something. We can help them. However small it may be, we can support them.
Wow. Such wise words. Thank you so much. Winnie, if people wanted to find out more about you, more about Thrive Beyond the Spectrum, what's the best way to get in touch with you?
So you can go to my website, Thrive Beyond the Spectrum. You can there. And I'm also active on social media, Instagram. I post there regularly. And if you just want to have a conversation with me, you can get my current link there. And we can have just a complimentary discussion and see where things are going. And if nothing, I would just love to encourage you to continue having hope. Never, ever give up.
Wow. Winnie, thank you so much. This has been such a pleasure. I really appreciate you taking the time.
You're most welcome. Thank you for what you do. What you do is incredibly important. And I just want to honor you.
Oh, thank you so much. And thank you to all of our listeners who tuned in for this episode. We will catch you in the next one.